Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's installment of To Catch a Fraudster. I'm Tom Cronkright. If we haven't had the privilege to meet before, one of the co-founders and executive chairman of CertifID. This month's installment, and frankly, every installment, is really meant to bring you a fresh perspective on trends that we're seeing in real estate wire fraud, tactics and strategies that we can be deploying and using in our communities and our transactions, but maybe most importantly, just thought leadership. You know, how do we empower you and your teams to have an even bigger impact in the communities and the transactions that you have the privilege to serve? So with that, we're going to jump in. I'm so excited about this month's topic. And I say that every month, but I truly am here because we are going to look at how do we, as the title, legal escrow community that are servicing our referral partners, and many of those, our top referrals, are our real estate brokers and our real estate agents. And how do we think about empowering them to go to market with their buyers and sellers with a message that says, you know what, I'm going to protect your information, I'm going to protect your security, and I'm going to protect your life savings, the wire transfers, the funds in and out of the escrow account or the IALTO account during a closing. So we'll be taking questions live in the YouTube. So if we're going through some content that sparks some type of, or piques some type of interest, shout it out and we'll respond to it in real time. So I have three of my favorite people. And I'm going to introduce them quickly, and then you're going to learn a lot about them as we go through some of the content. John Doorn, who is, they're all very, very seasoned, all applauded in our market. So I'll be spending a little time with my title owner hat on as the owner or co-owner of Sun Title here in West Michigan. And these individuals, broker owners, high producing agents, that just kind of run court in their own way. So John is the broker owner of JH Realty, one of the largest independently owned brokerages here in West Michigan, as is Ashley. Ashley, 30 Under 30 award winner for as a real estate agent nationally, and also a broker owner. And then Caleb, just a rising star, continues to be for the C21 brand. So guys, welcome. Seriously, welcome. So excited about having this conversation with you. I want to jump in really quick and just frame what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the expectation that a consumer has around the protection of their information, their identity, and most importantly, their wire transfers, because we all know that this has become probably the largest risk to manage in a transaction. If you haven't seen it, we have a state of wire fraud report that we publish every year. This year's report basically said that over half are not properly read into their risk, something that is just not, that's just completely unacceptable. But what's interesting is they believe that we, and I say collectively, between title escrow, real estate representation, and mortgage lending, are responsible for protecting them. This is the consumer data that we published. And one of the more interesting stats was this fact that they're willing to pay more if somebody did protect them, which means there's value that they see in this additional layer of protection, but they might not know how to get to that. And this is where I want to focus, like, how do we extract that value and not so much monetize it, but use it as a differentiating tool, both on the title company side, but more importantly, empowering our referral partners to differentiate themselves, to win more listing contracts, to win more buyer agency relationships, because there's a true differentiator from other agents that aren't speaking to these important issues. The other meaningful stat there was first-time home buyers are 3 times more likely to fall victim than repeat buyers or sellers in a transaction, right? So you can even kind of classify the risk profile a little bit further. While there is a waterfall, so we've been kind of presenting this waterfall nationally for a while. Education, our process and procedure, technology enablement, having an incident response, and making sure our insurance policies cover off on how We're actually working through the risk management on a monthly or daily basis. We need all these things as title companies and escrow companies, as we're managing, incoming and outgoing funds in a transaction. But we also need to enroll our partners. So if you think about it, you take a step back, the most important relationship that we're supporting is the relationship between the real estate agent and the buyer and the seller. Hard stop. The entire organization should be pointing to empowering and amplifying in a positive way that relationship. We tell our folks, your job is to put our client in the best possible position for referral after closing. So whatever that means, and you guys know, you open title, it's a box of chocolates, who knows what's going to happen. It's not the real estate agent's fault. It's not the buyer or seller's fault. A lot of times it just kind of is. We have to work through that. So I want to share with you, I want to kind of pivot and highlight the journey that Sun Title had, just quickly getting to a point where we have empowered our customers like Ashley and John and Caleb to compete on wire fraud and security on a more intentional basis in market. So what we started with, actually we got it wrong. So I want to be transparent. We got it wrong to start. And what we did is we went direct to consumer, and we left our referral partners a little bit behind. So when we said, hey, we're going to start sending wiring instructions to all buyers at order entry through CertifID to protect them, all of a sudden buyers were getting this communication, and who do they call? They don't call us. They don't call the title company. They call the real estate agent. And that lasted about 2 weeks until the phone bank lit up and said, wait, what are you doing? Right? I mean, how am I not read into this like fully? So we took a step back, and it was a multi-month journey. This isn't something that happens overnight, where we read our partners in, like we have here on the session, into what wire fraud is, how it presents itself, and what CertifID does to protect the buyer and the seller along that journey. Okay. You can see here some collateral that we created. Your account representative or account executive at CertifID will be able to provide you all these templates that we created along with the CertifID team. But it's essentially like, here's what we're doing, and here's why. We then expanded that. Again, this was Sun Title. This is the title company to the real estate referral source, the agents and the brokers, a little bit more about, okay, specifically, how are we protecting cash buyers? Specifically, what are we doing with vacant land and non-owner occupied to prevent from seller impersonation? And this was like us to them. And then we were able to make this flip. And the flip then was, how do we empower them to start the conversation themselves? What could we do now that they're read in, they're empowered, they understand the importance of this? How can I arm Ashley at the next listing appointment or buyer agency conversation to say, you know what? I can do all the things that you would expect. I can market, I can list, I can negotiate, I can help run a competitive, offer situation. We'll go the distance and we'll be able to close because I understand how to work through all the pre-quals and vet that. Or, on the buy side, sure, I know the neighborhoods. Again, we can run a competitive situation, but also let's talk about this idea that none of that matters if we're hit with some type of incident where your funds end up in the wrong location, right? So how do we think about that on a more intentional basis? And then even guiding them through, and again, this is, a state that we'd love all of you, especially the certified customers. And if you're not a certified customer, become a customer, because the end state of this is truly leveling all of our referral partners up from a cybersecurity and email security stance. So we even created like a guide that brokers are now providing their agents to lower the risk of any type of like email account takeover, social engineering, attack on some type of a network or internet service provider, even down to a point where we created almost like a security pledge, and all this stuff is co-branded, where they could go to market and say, you know what, I mentioned that wire fraud thing. I'm also committed to putting in the work myself to make sure that when we're communicating what is very private and personal information, it's going to be secure, right, and backed up. So I just want to give you a quick flyover. That's been our journey as a title agent. I couldn't be more thankful for clients like Caleb and Ashley and John for coming along this journey, because it's all new over the last several years. I mean, 10 years ago, this wasn't a thing. That's when we got hit with our wire fraud. And now we find ourselves having to mitigate this. So with that, I've done enough talking. I wanted to open up to you guys. And I guess just maybe in a minute or less, we'll try to get through. I got a lot of questions for you guys. What has this journey meant, like, candidly? And Ashley, I'll start with you.
Mhm. First of all, Tom, thank you for that data. That I cannot say enough how important that data is. It speaks volumes to how much people need to understand the importance of this transaction, the importance of what certified is and does. So thank you for explaining all of that. It is so, so important. So what was the question?
No, just, I mean, you've been on the journey. I mean, you saw the whole thing. You were with us, all of
Yes.
you. So when we had our wire fraud, you saw this whole thing get pulled out of the ground, and
Totally.
and you
Yeah.
guys were, to say you're early adopters. I mean, you really didn't have a choice, because we were just coming for this. So it's like, just
Yeah.
we were coming. We weren't going to. Lawrence and I
Yes.
were not going to stop. Right?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I've been so grateful to be along for the whole journey. And yeah, I sort of didn't have a choice. But of course I had a choice. I chose to be a part of this because I know that Sun Title Certified is innovative. At its core, it has the consumer in in mind. Um, Only want to protect the consumer, and everything else that goes along with that is kind of a bonus. If we get to have fun, if we get to make money, if we get to do all the other things that we like, of course that's great. But consumer protection is the point. So of course that was by choice. Being along for certified, seeing everything that it's done is gosh, it kind of leaves me speechless sometimes, because to see what it's done for our industry, to get the call from some of my clients, it's like, wow, that seriously almost just saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, that slip of a phone call was that easy to miss. But you guys did that. That is huge. You cannot understate how huge that is. So to be along for that journey and to see that firsthand it's incredible. And to see that happen to this industry, it's very, very powerful.
Oh, that's cool. John, your perspective on this.
Yeah, for me, it's like, don't hide it, right? Like we have an opportunity, like Ashley said, there's, monetary, I can, get more listings, my agents can get more listings and all of those things. But beyond that, one of the things that, drew me to Tom was we're trying to make the world a better place. So I have something that I can help you protect you. So why should we not be shouting that from the world, just as a, good people in society? Like, hey, don't, like, be careful. We can help you.
Yeah. Caleb, anything to backfill on that? What's been your perspective on this?
Yeah, I think it's, I guess to hit on that, like, what is our relationship between real estate agent and title company? I think one of the coolest parts for me is some of this I wasn't aware of until you guys brought it to our attention and brought it forthright. And so not only does it obviously help the consumer, but like the trainings, the teachings, as Ashley said, the innovativeness of Sun Title, like, I know at the end of the day that you guys have our back in every aspect. And if there's something that needs to be attacked, I know that if I don't hear about it, you guys are going to bring it to our attention and help us better serve our clients. And then just the peace of mind, like knowing that I can go to bat for my clients, and knowing that we have the systems and the things in place to protect them, especially in this day and age where everything's happening so fast and data's being thrown at us. It really is just one of those things and one of the pieces of business that I know is just going to get taken care of, and something that I know we still have to bring up. But when we have a cohesive brand, so when I'm saying the same thing as maybe my title rep is saying to the client, it just looks like we're a well-oiled machine. And to me, that's been something that's been just very appreciative. And also, like, I think clients notice, and I literally have been asked, like, oh, are you guys best friends? And to be honest, no, me and my title rep aren't best friends, but we work so well together and we know when things are going to be happening. And just that piece of it, I think it just puts everybody's mind at ease. So
I want to go right to the point on this because I think you guys have already opened it up. And Caleb, I'll start with you and we'll kind of go in reverse order. What is your expectation from a title partner as it relates to protecting the client? I mean, unvarnished, what is this in your mind relationship actually, I mean, what is this thing morphed into right now? Because there's a lot of things that you're doing. This market is challenging. This market is stressful. This market has been under, I would say, a recession for an extended period of time now because of rates. We might get some relief next year, but it's been hard. But this one in particular, I'd like to hear from each of you your own words, speaking to agents and title attorneys and all that nationally. Like, what do you expect? What are the non-negotiables as it relates to, you know, this topic of client protection?
yeah, I think it's just one of those, like, I guess the simple way to put it is I expect it to be done. And I'm amazed when it's not done or when I hear stories of it not be done. I've now just come to expect with Sun, and like I said in my last answer, like, I know Sun is protecting my clients, and I know that when I put forth this product, it is a differentiator, and it is one of those questionable pieces that I sit there and go, how are we as an industry not all on board for that, especially with how big wire fraud has become over the last couple of years. I mean, to your point, Tom, that stat of what 48% of people are not very aware of it. If we're on track for 4 million transactions, you're telling me that almost 2 million transactions have no idea, of what's going on, or maybe it was 52%. So we're even over that. I just think it's an expectation, and one of those things that I've just known of, like, this is becoming very, very relevant, or has been relevant. And so now it's one of those things that if we're not equipping ourselves, if the title company isn't equipped with it, like, then are we truly having our client's best interests at mind? Like, when I sign that contract with them that says I have their best interests at mind, this is a piece that literally comes with it, is that we will protect your funds. We're going to protect you through the transaction, your information. And we have systems and ways in place to make sure it happens. And it's not just a blanket statement. It's literally something that we live out between us as real estate agents and you guys as the title company.
John, your perspective on that, like, what are the expectations on this relationship as it relates to this topic?
I was trying to think of a good analogy of, like, your kids don't hop in your car and think, oh, does dad got this, right? They put their seatbelt on and, like, dad's got this. So the same kind of thing, like, my Sun Title's got this. And then even my agents think that, oh, the brokerage has got this. They're protecting me. And then the client, so it starts with, Tom the client, goes to, Linda the agent, goes to John the broker, goes to Tom the Sun Title, right? So, like, I think it's like the expectations is you've got it. And when I find out you don't have it, well, that's kind of scary. And then it's scary for me to make sure I do have it for those that are, I don't want to say underneath me, that's not the right word, right? But that are expecting me to have it.
Yeah. Ashley, your perspective, that's, I love the analogy, John. Yeah. And sometimes my kids do question my driving skills. I just want to be clear that there's two parts to that, right? You have a license, but I'm not sure you really have it.
Fair enough.
The relationship is paramount. The Title, the point of title is to insure the transaction, right? So we're ensuring that free and clear title is being transferred. We are ensuring that the people involved in the transaction are who they say they are, that everything can be cleared at close. The people who are involved in this transaction, your title rep, your realtor, need to have that relationship. There's no way that this transaction can be completed without that. That is paramount, and I cannot say that enough. What goes hand in hand with that now, as technology progresses, as we get more involved with what's happening in our world, is that wire fraud. We have to make sure that part of that insurance is the financial piece is insured, that money is transferred, that everyone is safe and taken care of from a financial perspective. So it's so important that your title company has certified, that has that insurance, just like you would transfer your title insurance, that you would transfer that wire fraud insurance.
So I want to run back quickly on the same theme. We're in a market where we have split or bifurcated closings. So for those of you nationally, this is not something you want in market if you don't have it. And that's where the seller and the buyer, as long as there's a loan policy to be issued, are actually closing at different title companies. And the buyer, the title company representing the buyer and the new mortgage lender is handling all dispersing. So it does exponentially further complicate the security and wire fraud prevention piece of it, because as a dispersing agent, you don't have direct relationship with the seller. So the question back to you guys, let's flip it 180 degrees. When you're presented with a cash buyer and the listing agent is veering you towards somebody that is a title provider that is not Sun Title, how are you managing that? Because what I'm hearing is there's some non-negotiable table stakes that you guys are all about client protection, and that other brands just don't have this. And without naming them, please, save on editing.
Thank you for
We all
mentioning
know.
that was funny.
So how do you do that? Because I want to draw contrast for the listeners in the sense that it doesn't sit in a vacuum, because then it falls back on your shoulders to say, okay, well, what do I do now? Because it's not a negotiable. It's a, what do I do now? So Ashley, I'll start back with you. What do you do?
Yeah. Oh, this is tough. Okay. Bottom line, you have to do what's best for your client. So, which is, there are two different sides to that. Your client wants the house. So how do you get your client the home, right? What they don't know is getting them the home, you need to insure their funds, right? They're so laser focused on getting the keys to the house that they're not thinking A to Z, all of the points involved. Where of course that is my job. So what happens with these split closings is egos get involved. That's really what happens is realtors are so reliant on their title companies, as they should be. That's why I'm so involved with Sun Title, but for good reason, because Sun Title provides the protection that we need with certified. Okay, so to answer your question, solely because of the protection that certified provides, there are many times where I have had cash buyers where the seller would typically dictate the owner's title policy in a cash transaction where I represent the buyer, where I full stop will negotiate the title closes both parties with Sun Title if the seller side is not using certified. I cannot guarantee a closing with my buyer's funds if they're not using certified. And the way I look at it, you don't have a deal without my buyer's money. So do you want to close the transaction or not? We're going to use certified.
And your cash buyer is the most at risk, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of the irony of the whole thing.
Absolutely.
They're the ones
Yes.
most at risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. John, how do you think about that? Because I know you run into it frequently.
Yeah, boy, I don't know that I can add to, Ashley, like, really, like, no money, no closing, right? And then for me, certified is like, you have a department that will go after it if something happens and you're insuring it. So there's so many levels there, to make sure, it's stressful enough, and Ashley's right. People don't, again, they assume we have it. We assume you have it, right? So we have to have it. And I think, Ashley said it's so great. Like, no money, no deal.
But John, when you're having these conversations, does a listing agent assume that their provider has it? Like, how does that, what's that exchange look like?
100%. I don't even 100%. I think that listing agent assumes. Even some of my agents, I know it's going to be hard to believe, but some of my agents don't use Sun Title. And when I tell them that title company doesn't, insure it, and then their eyes are like, wait, what? So yeah, they 100% assume.
Yeah. Caleb, how do you manage this? How do you manage this scenario?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of just, I mean, upfront conversation. We mention it all the time, but our buyers have so much on their mind, and I want them to think about the house. But then once again, relaying the importance of it. And oftentimes for me, it's a phone call, obviously, before an offer ever goes in, but then asking those important questions. I mean, to what you just asked, literally going, does your title company have insurance on this? And if they do, what is it? Because I think that's the one other thing is, like, people will go, well, we have insurance, or we have this other program. And then it goes, well, does it actually insure the funds? Does it actually do, or is it just kind of in place? And it's amazing how many people go, I had one recently where they're like, oh no, we absolutely do. And I'm like, I've never heard of that title company having certified. So and I asked if they had certified specifically. And I was like, can you call them and just double check? And they text me, they're like, yeah, they have it. I called them and they're like, no, we don't use certified. We have this program. And it's just going, and I then have to communicate that with my clients. To John's point, I have to have my clients' best interests at mind. And so then to go, hey guys, I believe in this so wholeheartedly that I do believe it should be a part of the transaction. But I also want you to just be aware of all your risks. And if we make the decision not to move forward because we aren't insured, or because they're not willing to switch, which at the end of the day, I don't get why agents, I mean, it's egos to Ashley's point. But man, when I just had a deal recently, not to go on a huge tangent here, but literally I called the agent and I said, this is how we have to go because it insures my client and it's going to insure your client.
Right.
And,
both.
And they went, oh, it's not just for your buyer? I said, no. I said, this is for you. This is for your seller. This is for me. This is for my buyer. This is so much deeper than just a surface level, I'm throwing out an insurance type of thing. So it's the education piece, but I have those conversations up front and I recall that document. I know we have that printed material, and then it becomes I almost have now switched to where I want my buyers going, wait, we're using Sun, correct? Where they're starting to prompt that question to me. Because it's just such an easy home run when it's oh, absolutely. And I'm going to make sure that the other agent gets on board with this to protect you and the seller. I don't know. To me, it's a no-brainer why you would.
No. So okay, let's. I want to go back around. I'll start with you, Caleb. You're warmed up on this thing. How can you point to how you're kind of winning or differentiating in market? And I want to put a caveat here. We haven't created a silver bullet. You're a great agent. You're all great agents. You're great communicators. You're great transaction coordinators. I mean, but you have this additional layer here. And I'm just wondering how you have felt that layer impact the relationship, the business, tangibly, how you feel that you're winning or outperforming others in market because you also have this to offer. This is part of kind of the lexicon that you're bringing into the conversation as you're, working with a first-time home buyer or a repeat seller or whatever it is.
Yeah. So if you're in Grand Rapids, don't do this. No, I'm kidding. If you're out of the state, you can. Otherwise, leave it to Ashley, me, and John. No.
Oh, you're ready to spill some sauce. I get it. You're ready to spill some sauce.
No, I just think, it's never to put down. So like one thing I always want to be very careful of is I'm not slamming other agents in the industry. Like at the end of the day, there is business that goes around for the people that want to produce. And so I try very carefully not to go, here's how I'm better. Like, it's not me. Because at the end of the day, I didn't develop this product and all of that. But it is to go, like when I get into a multiple listing scenario, like interviews or buyers, it's just a question. Like, hey, at the end of the day, here's the services I provide, at this cost, and this is how I protect your funds. And sometimes I'm the second one to interview, sometimes I'm the first one, whatever it is. But the question then becomes, did the other agent ever mention anything about protecting your funds through this transaction? Did you know that wire fraud, is one of the largest industries right now? Also, I don't know what title company they use, but if they're using, and I don't ever name specific ones, but if they're using XYZ title company, I don't think that they're going to be able to protect your funds as well. And people, once you start releasing those stats, and then it just becomes a very simple, what are they doing to protect their funds? And did they even bring it up? Because the number of times they go, no, this is, I don't know. I haven't heard of this. And to me at that point, it's wow. So one of your largest transactions of your life, you're not even being talked about protecting. That seems like a pretty no-brainer that you want to work with somebody that does this,
And as you're reading that body language, they're interested, right? They're intrigued. It's not like you're saying something that doesn't resonate.
Right. And I literally just had this yesterday on a listing appointment. So your stat about first-time homebuyers being more susceptible, I'm curious. I don't know if we have any of the data on it. I have a listing where the market is going on the market. They bought it 21 years ago. They might as well be a first-time home seller. They've done one transaction in their life and they don't. And so it's one of those, when you start talking through so many different points and maybe their fears are a little bit heightened, I feel like what often happens when I start bringing it up is you can actually watch them go from almost a tense state and just go, okay, we can breathe for a half a second, because we know that at the end of the day, when our funds are supposed to come through, we are protected. So when we get told we're going to see that money, we know we'll see that money. Because for these people buying 20 years ago, you got to imagine that they have a decent amount of equity that's going to be coming through.
And this is a lot of it is the retirement is locked up.
Yeah.
You're unlocking that and converting that equity into the next chapter of their life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. John, how are you experiencing this in market?
Boy, every time I hang out with you three, I learn something more. I feel okay, I can go home now, right? So, yeah, thanks for those. I think that's really smart, Caleb. And it just, to me, it just comes back to, again, assuming you have that, you've got this for me. So, yeah. And I'm trying to remember your question because I'm so caught up in Caleb's first time home buyer is a 60-year-old that hasn't sold a house in 20 years and forgets that, right? So I really love that we have to. The other thing too, I will say that whether you list your home with Caleb or Ashley or John Doorn, if we're all three interviewing with Tom, the question is, are they taking your financial security seriously? And I want you to know that I'm taking it very seriously to do everything I can to protect. Even if you're not a cash buyer, even if you're not, wiring the funds, because like you said, they may talk you into wiring the funds, right? So for me, I just say, hey, I live in prosperity. So if you're going to list with Caleb, great. But just make sure that Caleb takes your financial security very, very seriously.
Yep. Love that. Ashley, how is this playing for you in your conversations?
Yeah, it's very similar. As a realtor, once you're set up with, that certified program, it's honestly like a set it and forget it. It is so easy to use, which I love. It's not cumbersome. It's not complicated. It's your title process. So I love that so much that it does not add anything to your process. From like a administrative standpoint, right? So like you just do what you need to do. So it doesn't make your job any more difficult. So, that is easy. I can just continue to do what I need to do. From a client standpoint, exactly like Caleb said, it seriously levels up how your clients think about your presentation, your transaction, because you are educating them on things that they don't know, just like your data stated. So when you go in there, and again, I really don't like to freak people out about wire fraud because they probably don't know about it. And I know about it and I get freaked out. Every time I answer a call, I'm like, are they recording my voice? Should I be like, should I have like should I put paper over my, I get freaked out. But, so I try to be really, like I just kind of a easy sales about it. But hey, just so you know, we've got this awesome program. We do take your funds very seriously. We protect them. You're going to get some notifications from Certified. It is legitimate. But just so you know, it is a part of the process. It is very important that you work with a realtor who takes that seriously and uses this program. So you're kind of already planting that seed in their mind that they need to be aware of this. And Certified makes that super easy for me to do.
Next question for each of you. We'll have probably two more questions just based on time. If there was a message that you could send to the title and escrow community nationally around this, from your perspective, from the perspective of, you're in the trenches every day dealing with life. It happens to be around a housing transaction, but you're dealing with life, and I'm super empathetic to that. I really am. It's an incredibly hard job. What would the message be? What do you like to say to us? What do we need? Where are we tone deaf right now, possibly as an industry, that we need to tune in and repitch this thing so we're hearing you? Ashley, you're up.
Okay.
Are you thinking? You rarely think. You're just like, boom. I thought I lost you. Like, did her internet fail?
Because we are so blessed with Sun Title. Sun Title really nails it. From an industry, it is very transactional. So I do think industry wise, it is really important to recognize consistently that it is the largest financial transaction, and that, that's a purchase and a sale. And most people call us because something is happening, and that could be good or bad, right? Someone passed away, there's a divorce, there's a birth, there's a marriage. So we have to be cognizant that at the closing table, what does Tom say? Like a Kleenex or a celebration, right? Like, are we crying? Are we celebrating? So we have to be really cognizant of what's happening and the money that's surrounding that and all of the emotions and everything that's going on. Nobody is thinking about, am I using this certified product at that time? But that is what that cloud is, right? In the closing table. Like, is this all protected? So I cannot stress enough that using a product like this is so, so important, because the emotions, everything that's happening at that closing table is what is important. We don't want to be thinking about, are the funds covered? Is there a huge problem happening in the back office that everyone's scrambling while my clients are crying, because something happened? It has to be protected. And to me, I think about it like, as a title company, if you're not investing in this product, which I get it financially, I get if it's, a big investment, there is going to come a time when you're going to have a conversation with somebody that says something happened with your funds. So if you're not investing in it, so do you want to have the conversation now about investing in wire fraud where you're going to make the investment with certified, or do you want to have the conversation when someone's funds got intercepted and you're going to have a serious conversation about that? When do you want to have the conversation? Because it's now or later, and one's going to be good and one's going to be bad. So, you got to take your pick. It's going to happen.
Yeah. I always think about it like, you want a vitamin or an asprin,
Literally.
right? So
Yeah,
the doctor visit's typically less expensive with a vitamin.
Exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate
truly.
that. John, what would the message be to the industry from your perspective?
I think that it would be assuming that we are taking this seriously and we're not, and to make sure that we are having, the industry is having conversations like this with the brokers, the owners, and the agents, that this is real. And like you said, the aspirin, or the vitamin. So I don't think there's enough conversations around that right there, is that personally, I didn't take it seriously. I don't think there's agents are taking this seriously right now. So don't assume that we know, and educate. I would say definitely educate.
Yeah, I love that. Caleb, from your perspective.
Yeah, that your last point there, John, is exactly what I was going to say. Like, I just think it's a big piece of education. I think there's a big opportunity to educate. And I'm with Ashley on this. Like, it's not to cause fear as much. Like, I don't want to use it as a tool of like, oh, you're screwed if you don't have this. But like, I don't ever want to get to that closed table and have to communicate, hey, I don't know where your funds are, or have the title company communicate that. And so I think the education piece, but then just the tool is there, so use it. Like, that is, if somebody has done all the work for you to protect your client, like, you utilize that. And really, at the end of the day, like, I know I'm guilty of it probably just as much as anybody, but like, put your ego aside and take a step back and go, what is truly best? And to be honest, and Tom, I'm going to throw you out here a little bit of like, if you don't think this is best for your client, then reach out to Tom, because like, I know there's so much education that can happen. And I know I brought it up earlier, but that's why I love Sun, is that if there is something that I need to know that I'm not aware of, I know that I'm going to be reached out to about it. And so the tool exists to protect your clients. Like, I think it's just simple. I think there's an opportunity. And to Ashley's point, like, you can either jump on the bus now or you're going to get on it later. And the later is going to suck, because it's going to come with a hard couple conversations. So, yeah.
Guys, I can't thank you enough. And I'm hoping for everyone watching or listening in, we wanted to just demonstrate that this is possible. It's not easy. But again, if you're a title company owner, or you're managing a division, or you're managing a practice group within a real estate law firm, or a real estate practice group, I should say, within a law firm, it does start with education and awareness. If the agents don't know it's out there, how can you expect through osmosis that the buyers and sellers are going to be able to protect themselves? As someone mentioned, when they get the email asking for a wire, and nobody's ever talked about this issue, that wire fraud is even a risk, and a risk that they can help participate in managing down. And I think the ideal end state is what you just heard. We're blessed. We've been on this journey for 10 years. We've been beating the drum every single year, multiple times a year, between the Association of Realtors and local events, on just updating the community. But I can just tell you that that's worth the investment. I think the brand reputation, the flip side of this is, Sun Title experienced another series of frauds, and now we wouldn't be having this conversation. We're having a conversation that says, man, I just heard some people, I've heard some people have had some lost funds. We're not going to head in that direction. And it's the opposite of that, right? We've recovered for almost every major competitor in our area over the last several years. And I'm not indicting them. I'm just saying that it's like do or don't, to the point. But you're going to experience this unless you're managing it. So I can't thank you guys enough. From a housekeeping perspective, if for some reason you're not using the platform, I know we talked a lot about Certified. It's just a key component. So the point was brought up by Caleb. It's like, look, this isn't just me like trying to protect my buyer listing agent. Like, it protects your seller's mortgage payoff. It protects the seller net. It protects the commissions, like every inbound and outbound transfer. That's why we developed it, right? So for those of you that don't know the full story, like, Sun Title was a victim of fraud. And as attorneys, Lawrence and I looked at it and said, it's probably not going away. Like, this industry is just too easy to focus on. So I can't encourage you enough in some form or fashion to start the journey. Reach out to us, reach out to your account executive at Certified and say, okay, we're ready. And you'll be able to ladder up this thing over a 12-month period, where you could be the brand that becomes synonymous, not only with, accurate title commitments and, closing statements and closing experiences and all that are positive and memorable, but also, like, they're the get it done department for these things that your clients are actually assuming you're taking care of. That's what I find so fascinating about this is you have a built-in assumption as real estate professionals that says, look, I'm not handling money. This can't be my job, right? But it's got to be somebody's job, and it better be somebody's job, right? Or there's a whole different conversation to be had. So, quick parting thoughts, guys, and then I'll give you some time back in your very busy days. So, Caleb, I'll start with you. Any final remarks? I cannot thank you guys enough for spending time on this topic.
Yeah, no, and thank you, Tom. I know I'll speak for myself. I'm sure I speak for John and Ashley here too, but we're very thankful for all that Sun does for us. To be honest, this is a drop in the bucket for everything that you guys do type of thing. And for us, I have no issue giving up a little bit of time for it because I think it is that important, and just very thankful for that. So I mean, literally, I think I said it, but the parting thought that I just have is, like, we at the end of the day want to do what's best for the consumer and protect ourselves as real estate agents, as title companies. Like, I just think it's a no-brainer to be educated on it and then equip yourself with the systems that are out there, that are in place with Certified, and just have conversations. I think that's one of the biggest things, is just being open to the conversation and knowing that can make a difference. Would be my final thing. So
Love it, and applaud what you're doing, Caleb. You're such an advocate for it. So, John, any parting thoughts?
No, you're thanking me, and every time I hang out with all three of you, I learn a lot, and I feel really blessed that am protected in this process. So I feel like I get front row seats. So thank you.
I love it, Ashley.
You guys are the best. No, it is an honor, truly, to share with Caleb and John, and thank you, Tom. And the final thought is, Certified is next level technology. It's only getting better every day. It really does boggle my mind if someone hasn't invested in it that has the opportunity. And I really sound like a paid spokesperson. I'm not. I just believe in it that much. It really, like Caleb said, it does protect the consumer. It protects all of us. And it really, I'm so grateful to have that front row seat to it. So thank you.
Love it. Care for you guys. I can't thank you enough. So, everyone listening and that joined this, I hope there is at least one piece that we took away that we can action against going into our community. So, with that, until next month's installment, thank you for attending, and truly appreciate the time today. And guys, thank you again for all your thoughts and the leadership that you bring and the value that you bring, not just to your clients, but the overall real estate community locally here. It's an honor. Believe me, the honor is truly all ours. So, all right, we'll sign off. Thanks, guys.